To avoid the failure in pile foundation, two criteria should be satisfied, that is similar to shallow foundation, that is it should not fail in shear and excessive settlement should not be there. Let's say Q1 is the load at which it fails in shear and Q2 is the load at which the excessive settlement takes place. So the minimum of Q1 and Q2 will give us the ultimate pile load capacity. And we can apply some factor of safety on this ultimate pile load capacity and then we can use it for design. So to find out this ultimate pile load capacity, there are several methods. That is, first one is static pile load formula, and pile load test, pile driving formula, and correlation with standard penetration test data. Correlation with standard penetration test data. Let's see these methods, starting with the static pile load formula. So when we apply some load on a pile, say this is our pile, when we apply some load on this pile, so there are two ways in which this pile can counter this load, or it can take this load, that is the frictional resistance on the side of the pile and the end bearing capacity or the end bearing resistance. So let's see the process in which this resistance is mobilized. So when we place some load on the pile, when we place, let's say, some small load, not the load at which the failure will happen. So if we place some small load, because of this pile has the tendency to settle downwards. If it wants to settle downwards, then due to the shear resistance here, the friction is mobilized in the upward direction, but this friction is mobilized in the limited zone of the pile because this load is not very high. So if we further increase this load, more friction is mobilized, and similar to that, if we keep on increasing, we will reach a point where the complete length of the pile is contributing towards the frictional resistance, and at this point we have reached the, or what the total frictional resistance is known as ultimate frictional resistance. But this is not the complete capacity. Now if we further increase the load, then some part of the load is transferred to the end resistance or the end area. So if we further keep on increasing the load, we will reach a point when this end resistance is also completely mobilized, and that is called as ultimate end resistance or ultimate point resistance. And the ultimate bearing capacity or the ultimate load carrying capacity of the pile is the summation of these two, that is QU is equal to QPU plus QF. So that we want to know. Now when QPU is much greater than QF, then that kind of pile is called as the end bearing pile, and if QF is greater than QPU, then it is known as friction pile. Now what kind of relative movement? So initially I said that when we place the load, then there is this tendency of the pile to move downwards. Then there is this question that what kind of relative movement is required to completely mobilize the frictional resistance. So the movement of the pile required to completely mobilize frictional resistance is between 0.5 to 1% of pile dia. This much movement if happens, then the complete frictional resistance, that is the whole surface, will be contributing towards the frictional resistance at this much settlement or at this much movement. Similarly, for ultimate point bearing resistance, that is what is the movement required at which this base part of the foundation is giving its maximum capacity. So for that, 10 to 20% of pile dia, this is the relative movement required to completely mobilize the end bearing resistance. Now, here I said that QU is equal to QPU plus QF, that is the maximum value of end resistance and maximum value of frictional resistance. So this is the theoretical formula, but practically what happens, what is observed in the field, that when this frictional resistance is maximum, we know that after this point only the end bearing resistance is mobilized. So when we reach the maximum value of end bearing resistance, when this value reaches maximum, when this value reaches its maximum value, at that point the frictional resistance is not maximum, or we can say at this point the frictional resistance reduces. So this is a field observation. So this is for your knowledge. Apart from that, we are going to use this formula, that is the maximum value of point resistance and maximum value of frictional resistance. So after that, the point resistance QPU, which is a load. So first let's see what is the stress corresponding to it. So stress times area will give us the load. Now what is this stress? So to find out QPU, we use this formula what we saw in the shallow foundation, that is CNC plus QNQ plus 0.5 gamma B and gamma. So there this formula was used for the complete capacity, but here we are using this formula just for this part, that is the base of the foundation. And one more thing you can remember here is that the pile foundation always fails in punching shear, and we know that in punching shear this shear failure zones are not completely developed. So here it is just something like this. So for punching shear failure, the shear resistance of the soil which is there below the foundation is not very significant. So this part in this equation is negligible because it shows the resistance due to the soil which is there below the foundation. So this is negligible. So instead of this, we use the equation QPU is equal to CNC plus this Q can be written as effective stress times NQ. So we do the effective stress analysis in case of pile foundation. Effective stress for cohesionless soil and mostly total stress for, that is if this C we want to find out, so normally we will find out a CU, that is undrained cohesion. So we do total stress analysis in case of cohesion or in case of cohesive soil, whereas in case of cohesionless soil we do the effective stress analysis. This is the general equation of end bearing resistance or the stress due to end bearing resistance. And for if the soil is cohesionless, then this QPU is simply equal to sigma NQ because C is equal to 0, whereas if this soil is cohesive, then QPU is equal to CNC. And if you want to write the end bearing resistance, so QPU, capital QPU is equal to small QPU times area of the base. So this is the area if it is circular or square shape. So the cross sectional area of this foundation, we multiply it with the stress and we get the ultimate point load. Similarly, for frictional resistance, we write QF is equal to Fs into As. Fs here is the unit frictional resistance, so that will be mobilized on the surface and multiplied by the surface area that is AS will give us the total frictional resistance. So this is the equation. Fs here is unit frictional resistance. So we can write QPU we can write the total or the ultimate capacity of the pile. QU is equal to QPU into AB, that is area of the base, plus Fs into AS. So that way we can find out the ultimate capacity of the pile. Let's see how we find the value of ultimate pile load capacity for different kind of soils. So first let's see the granular soils, that is for which the C is equal to 0. Now we are interested in finding out two things, that is ultimate point bearing resistance and unit skin friction, and we can multiply it with the area of base and area of surface, and adding it we will get our ultimate pile load capacity. So these two terms we want to find out. Let's see one by one. So QUP, that is ultimate point bearing resistance, is equal to sigma times NQ in case of granular soils. So it means that if this is the length of pile, so sigma should be equal to, or the stress distribution should be given something like this. It means that sigma will be increasing if we increase the L. This equation indicates that, and if sigma is increasing, that we can say the ultimate point load capacity also increases. But in the field it is observed that it is not the case. The value of sigma only increases up to some extent, and after that it becomes constant, and the depth up to which this value increases is called as critical depth. So up to this critical depth the value of effective stress increases, and after this depth it is just constant. So the value we find, this sigma is equal to gamma into critical depth. Now this critical depth is different for different kind of soils. For loose to medium sand, this LCR, that is critical depth, is equal to 15 times D, where D is the pile dia. Whereas in case of dense sand, this critical depth is equal to 20 times pile dia. So this way we find out the critical depth, and then we multiply it by the unit weight, and from that we get the effective stress, and using this effective stress we can find the ultimate point bearing resistance. Now why this stress distribution is coming like this, that means why it is just increasing up to this depth, not up to here. So the reason for this is the arching action in soil. So this arching phenomena, it happens only in cohesionless soil, because it is related with the friction or the frictional resistance. So it does not happen in cohesive soil. It will not happen in cohesive soil. Now what happens due to this arching action? So I can simply tell in an easy way that we know that this pile, if we place some load on this, so this has the tendency to move downwards, and because of this the frictional resistance or the shear stresses are mobilized in the upward direction, and we know that this sigma, that is effective stress, it works in the downward direction. So because of this frictional resistance the value of sigma decreases, and this part is related to this fact that this sigma decreases, so we get some sort of this kind of diagram, or some sort of this kind of effective stress diagram. So that's what we are going to use. We will find out this critical line, and using that we will find out the effective stress. So this way we can find out our this ultimate point bearing resistance, that is sigma into NQ. Here NQ normally in India it will be governed by the IS code. So these values are given using the IS codes, and this equation QUP, if we are using the IS code, then it is given as sigma NQ plus 0.5 gamma B and gamma. So IS code also includes this term. So for this is just for knowledge. If nothing is given, then obviously we will use this equation. We will not use this equation. But if someone asks that if it is included in the IS code, then yes, this term is also included in the IS code. Now let's see the next part, that is skin friction. So we are seeing just for the cohesionless soil first. So what is this skin friction? We know that it will be working. It is the friction between the soil and the pile material. So we can again use for cohesionless soil, we can again use this theory, that is this is one block and it is kept on this surface and the coefficient of friction is given as mu. So if the angle of friction between the pile and the soil is delta, and if let's say this is the normal reaction, then this mu is equal to tan delta. This is our basic equation, and the value of this skin friction, that is unit skin friction, is equal to mu into n. So we know the value of mu, and n is the horizontal reaction, and this horizontal reaction is nothing but the lateral earth pressure. So this n can be given as k into vertical stress or the effective vertical stress. What we saw this, or let me finish this part first. So from here F is equal to k sigma tan delta. So this is our basic equation. But the value of sigma, we saw the diagram is something like this. So we'll divide it into two parts, that is this is the part 1 and this is the part 2. So we'll find the sigma separately and then we'll calculate. So we'll find the unit skin friction, let's say F1 in this part and F2 in this part. So we'll do F1 plus F2 multiplied by the surface area. So if this length here is L or the depth is L and this dia is D, and if it is a circular pile, then AS, the surface area, is simply equal to pi into D into L. So this F1 and F2, here we take the average of the stress, that is we'll take the sigma average here, that is sigma average 1 or sigma average 2, and that way we'll find the F1 and F2. So here I can write it is the average value. Now the value of K and delta, it depends on some factors, that is it will depend upon the pile material. So if it is made of timber, steel, depending upon that the value of K and delta will be different. Apart from that, one more thing on which these two factors depend is the type of pile, or we can say if it is a driven pile or if it is a board cast in situ pile. So if it is a driven pile, so in case of driven pile and if the sand is in loose condition, so what happens, the soil or the sand densifies, and because of this densification the phi will increase and the value of this K will also increase. So the value of K is more in case of driven pile compared to the board cast in situ pile. And in case of board pile, because first we drill the hole and so we'll use some water, so because of that water this part of the foundation it will be wet, and because of that it loses some of its strength, and because of that the phi decreases. So you can simply remember that the bearing capacity in case of driven pile is more than in case of board pile. And let's say if the bearing capacity here is Q1, in case of it is Q2, so Q2 is equal to half of Q1, so it becomes half. Other than that, these K and delta values you need not remember, mostly it is given in the exams. So that way we use this formula, F is equal to K sigma average tan delta and we find out the skin friction, and Fs, let's say this is Fs multiplied by the surface area, so that we'll get the total frictional resistance, and adding the both two we'll get the total pile load capacity in case of cohesionless soil. Now these some more values are given, or the limiting value we can say. The upper limit of frictional stress, upper limit we take as 110 kilonewton per meter square. So if this frictional stress is coming more than this value, then we'll discard it. Similarly, for point bearing resistance, so these upper limits are 11,000 kilonewton per meter square for silica sand, and it is equal to 5,000 kilonewton per meter square for calcareous sand. So if it is coming more than this, and if something like this is mentioned, then we will neglect in design. So this way we find out the ultimate pile load capacity in case of cohesionless soil. So later we will take one example also to show the calculation how we find out these values, and even if then you don't understand anything, then you can ask me. Let's see how we find this pile load capacity in case of clay soil now. So the basic formula is same, QE is equal to QUP into AB plus FS into AS. Now in case of clay soil, this QUP is equal to CUB into NC, where this CUB is the undrained cohesion at base of the pile, and this value of NC from the Skempton's analysis, it is equal to 9 for circular and square shape. So CUB will be given to you, that is the undrained cohesion at the base, and NC will take 9 for most of the case, and this QUP we can simply find as 9 into CUB. Now for this part, that is skin friction, so Fs is equal to alpha into Cu. Now what is this alpha and Cu here? So if this is the lower part of the foundation or the soil below the foundation, so CUB is the undrained cohesion in this part, and Cu is the undrained cohesion in this part, that is around the surface. So Cu is undrained cohesion at surface, and this alpha is known as adhesion factor. So these values are always given to you. This Cu, sometimes it is equal to CUB and multiplied by the alpha, so you will get the Fs. So we can write this Qu is equal to 9 into CUB times area of the base plus Fs is equal to alpha into Cu times area of the surface. So this is the equation what we use in case of clay soil. Now what else is left? Yes, this value of alpha adhesion factor, it depends upon the clay, that is if it is a loose clay or if it is a stiff clay, it depends on that. So if it is a loose clay, then obviously it can stick to this pile very easily, then in that case the alpha is more. So in case of loose clay, this alpha is equal to 1, and in case of stiff clay, this alpha is equal to 0.3. So you need not remember these values, just for the guideline. And because undrained conditions are developed after we put this pile in the ground, so at least 30 days should be elapsed, or at least after 30 days we should load this pile. So after the construction, we'll wait for at least 30 days before we load it. So the full strength has developed. So in case of clay, this formula is not very reliable. We use just for the guidelines, and then we use the pile load test to find proper values.